Right, so welcome to our class, our mini class today, lunch hour class, if you're joining live. And our theme this week is around the mind. And the idea that our minds are kind of co-opted by advertising these days and by social media. And it kind of feels a little bit like we don't always have control over our thoughts or our minds. We get kind of pulled in different directions. I know I feel that way. And so today is really about techniques and tools to use to bring the mind back to a kind of focus. And our mind will wander. That's the nature of the mind. So it's not about beating ourselves up when our mind goes wandering. And it's really about noticing and having something positive or something neutral to bring the attention back to. So if you're someone who has a hard time sleeping at night because your mind is racing, it's a kind of a monkey mind, there's actually some wisdom in the idea of counting sheep, right? It distracts the mind from that thing that's causing us to be up in our heads, and it brings us to something that's more mundane, more neutral, more grounded. I mean, sheep are pretty grounded. So that idea. So today we'll use a little bit of distraction for the mind to just give it something else to think about so that we're not distracted by our thoughts that kind of try to invade. So we'll start seated, get comfortable. You can be on a chair or on the floor, it doesn't matter. We're going to focus on the upper body today, the neck, shoulders, arms, face, jaw, all of that stuff. So we'll start seated and I'll see you on the mat. So any comfortable seat is fine. You don't have to have crossed legs. I know this isn't comfortable for everybody. Though some people find that crossing the legs and having cushions under the knees to help support them is a good alternative to just sitting cross-legged on the ground. I always like to sit on a cushion. That helps my lower back and my hip flexors to actually be able to relax a little bit more. So the tighter your hips are, the more they appreciate being a little higher than your off the ground. So higher than your knees if possible, but whatever is comfortable for you really. So some people are comfortable sitting right on the ground. That is not me. I like my little cushion, sometimes a chair, so whatever. So let's take a moment to tune in, to check in, and to notice. So likely you've come from doing something else to join this class. Just notice what residue is still there from what came before. You're not trying to eradicate or push anything away. We're really just noticing. What am I bringing to this moment? What is coming with me from before? And then taking a moment to tune into your body. So just notice how your body feels in general. And then noticing if there are areas of your body that are calling your attention. So usually an area of the body calls our attention if it's uncomfortable. And so if you notice an area of your body that's uncomfortable, I invite you to notice it, but not dwell there. So you might notice what's uncomfortable and then shift your focus to something that's neutral or comfortable. And shift back. So you're never kind of just digging in and staying at that discomfort place, noticing, moving, noticing, moving. So take a moment to scan your body. And be aware of all that's there in a sort of general way. And then tune into your breath, just your own natural rhythm and movement of breath. Feel how it moves through your body. Feel how there's no effort required to breathe. It just happens. We can bring our conscious attention there. But even if we're not paying attention, the breath still moves. And then I invite you to notice the state of your mind today. So your mind might be a busy place, notice that. It might be a kind of dull or half asleep place. Notice that. Maybe your mind feels kind of foggy today and nothing is in clear focus. So you're just noticing that as well. And then tune into any emotions or what mood is present for you today. And emotions typically have a physical manifestation. So butterflies in the stomach or a lump in the throat. But sometimes our emotions are also associated with thoughts. I feel sad or I feel angry. So simply noticing what's present in your emotional body. And then let's add some movement. So with all of that awareness, starting to move the body, a little arch in the back, lifting the heart, and then rounding the back, drawing the chin down. If you like, you can coordinate your breathing, so you're inhaling as you lift, exhaling as you round. Following your own pace, if you just want to do the movement and forget about the breath, just let it be natural, then that's fine. And then after your next exhalation, let's come to a neutral spine, shoulders down. We'll work a little bit with the neck and the shoulders. So starting by turning the head to one side and going as far as you comfortably can until you meet some restriction. Coming back to the center and going to the other side, same thing, just meeting a gentle restriction. Noticing where that is. Right? So we often override our bodies, just moving in ways that we think are helpful to us and forcing our bodies in ways. So really encourage you to notice where your restriction is, pause there. Notice how you know. What stops you? Is it pain? Is it just a feeling that there's no more movement there? Or is it a story in your head that you have a stiff neck? And then let's slowly take the chin down across the front of the chest. Come up to the other side and notice there. When you take your head to the side, what tells you that that's enough? And then let's sweep back a few times, back and forth. And I really invite you and encourage you to tune into the subtleties of sensation here. So as you move your head, does the stretch move? Do you feel any stretch? Maybe you don't feel much at all. All right, let's bring the head back to center so the chin is toward the chest. And lift the spine tall, draw the shoulders back a little bit, but let the chin drop down. Take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll slowly lift the head. And now we'll tilt the head to one side. So just let the ear move down toward that shoulder. Don't pull the shoulder up toward the ear. Keep both shoulders relaxed. And then if your head is tilted to the left, you'll work with the right arm. If it's tilted to the right, you'll work with the left arm. So taking the opposite arm, reaching it out to the side, pointing your fingers toward the ground, and very slowly raising your arm. If there's a point where it feels uncomfortable, you can move up or down to find a point that feels like there's maybe some stretch there, but it's comfortable. And then we'll turn the palm up toward the ceiling, again moving slowly, and turn it back down. So turning up and down. So as we do this movement, we're actually rotating the whole arm slightly to the shoulder, and you may feel some stretch up into the neck as well. Great. And now turn the palm so it's facing back behind you, and then slide the hand behind your back. So your palm is facing away. Let the shoulder relax and drop down. And actually let the shoulder move back just slightly and let the chin drop towards the opposite collarbone. And then slowly lift the head, release the arm. Do a few rotations of both shoulders. Okay, and then coming back to center, we'll let the head release the opposite direction. And again, taking the hand to the side, fingers pointing at the floor to begin with. That might feel like a great stretch for you. You can stay there. You can play around with lifting the arm a little, lowering and lifting until you find a sweet spot where you feel a nice stretch. It's not too much. And then you can start to play with rotating the arm, palm up, palm down. It's not just the wrist moving, but the whole arm. You play around with how high or low the arm is to find the stretch that is just right for you. And then turning the palm back, we'll take the hand behind the back, palm facing away. If that's not comfortable, just out to the side is fine. And then as that shoulder draws slightly back, the chin on the opposite side comes slightly down. Make sure you're breathing. And then you'll slowly lift your head, release the arm, and again, a few rolls with both shoulders. Right. And then bring your palms together. Put a little pressure into your hands so you feel some stretch in your forearms now and your wrists. You can also take the heels of the hands apart, press the bases of your fingers together to get a little more stretch into your fingers and your hands. And then release and do a few rotations, circling the wrists. And then give them a little shake. Great. And again, let your hands rest down on your thighs. You can close your eyes if they're open or if it feels comfortable to close them. And notice, what sensations are you aware of in your neck, shoulders, hands, arms? Tuning in and being present with what is right in this moment. The more we tune into this moment, the less the monkey of our mind goes swinging off from tree to tree. So now I invite you, if you are sitting on a chair or a cushion, to come right to the ground. Bring your feet out in front of you, let your hands support you from behind. And we'll start with some side-to-side movements for the legs getting into the hips. So if you feel comfortable, you can bring the knees down. You might need to release the back arm a little bit so your shoulder is happy behind you, going from one side to the other. Now you will crawl forward as you do this. You can either walk your hands forward to stay together, or you can shift your hips back every few times. And really, again, notice, feel each nuance. Feel the weight shift across your buttocks. Feel what happens in your hips as you go to each side. If you feel pain in your knee, go less. Right? So what's happening is the hips are trying to twist. If they're not wanting to twist, if there's stiffness there, your knees might try to do the twisting. Knees don't really twist very much. So you want to be cautious with that. And then eventually let's come back to the center. You can bring your knees in or feet in close to each other, hands around the knees. The knees can be together or apart. For this, doesn't matter. You just want to sit up tall. And then if you can wrap your hands around and maybe hold your wrist around your knees, or just hold your knees or bring your knees together and hold your elbows, whatever is possible for you here. You're going to bring the head down and take a few breaths. It's almost like a child's pose on its side, right? In a little bit of a ball, knees together or apart, right? However it's comfortable for you. And then from here, you can reach your hands between your legs to come to your ankles. And we're going to open up the knees and use the hands on the ankles for a little bit of leverage. If you need to support your knees with cushions or blocks to be comfortable, that's fine. But we're not going to stay too long here. So hands gently pulling back, chest lifting, and then very gently bouncing the knees a little bit out to the side. So just a little gentle bounce, inviting some movement into the hips. And there's lots of ways to do this. So, if it's more comfortable to hold the knees, that's fine. Or stay in stillness rather than that gentle bounce, that's also fine. If it feels better to rest back on your hands, that might be a good option for you. Great. And then let's slowly bring the knees up in towards each other. And we're going to come to lie down. So keep your knees bent and use your elbows to support you, or use your core to support you as you come down. As you come to the ground, pause there, take a moment. Let your breath come back to a sense of ease. And then we're going to take the arms, reach them up toward the ceiling. And then reach, reach, reach. So you're lifting the edges of your shoulder blades off the ground. Take a breath in, feel like you could fill the space between your shoulder blades. And then as you exhale, relax and let your shoulders sink to the ground. Right? And then with those nice relaxed shoulders, bend your elbows, bring your hands to opposite elbows. And we're going to rotate the upper body. So the head and the elbows or the arms move together. You're going to turn to one side, elbows moving toward that side, ear moving toward the ground, coming back to center, and then over to the other side. So center, and each side alternating. If you like, you can exhale as you go to the side, inhale as you come to the center. If you prefer to just move and breathe freely, then that's fine too. Wonderful. Coming back to the center now. Taking the arms and bringing them down somewhere a little bit away from your body, palms facing the ceiling. And we're going to slowly raise the arms like you're making a slow motion snow angel on the ground. You can slightly bend them if that's comfortable. And you're going to stop well before you feel that you're at your edge. So you want to feel maybe a little bit of stretch in the upper arms and chest, but you want to make sure your hands and your elbows and your shoulders are absolutely comfortable and on the ground. So when you've found that nice open position, take a few deep breaths here. Feel as though you could breathe right into your chest and belly and down into your shoulders and down into your arms. As you exhale, feel your torso soften, sink down, shoulders relax, jaw relaxes. And then if you want to add some movement here, as you exhale, let your knees go down to one side. And then as you inhale, bring your knees to center. And then next exhale, knees go to the other side and back to center. So move slowly. If you want to move more slowly than your breath, just breathe normally. You want to move slowly to, again, really tune in to the nuances of sensation in your body as you move. So there's a certain point when my knees go to the side that I start to feel a little bit of stretch in my upper hip. And that stretch increases until my body says that's enough. And then I watch that stretch come back to neutral in the center. And I notice that it's a little bit different on the other side. It's a little bit later, it's a little bit higher in my hip. So I really encourage you as you do this movement to really tune in and notice what is true for you. We'll do a few more rounds here. Notice what you also feel in your shoulders and chest. There may be some movement there as well. Wonderful. Eventually make your way back to center. If you feel like your hips are a little off center, you can press into your feet, lift your hips up, and then slowly bring them down in a way that feels aligned. So your whole spine is aligned with your hips. And then knees in toward your chest. You can bring one hand to each knee. Knees can be together or apart for this. It doesn't matter, whatever's comfortable. And you'll move your knees away from you by straightening your arms, and then towards you by bending your elbows. Now for you, that might be a small movement, just an inch or two forward and back, that's fine. You're still moving over the sacrum, or it may be a little bigger movement. The knees might come more comfortably in toward the chest. So we're all a little bit different. It depends on flexibility in the hips, in the back, and also, of course, the proportions of the body. So if the belly doesn't have space for the knees to come in close to the body, taking the knees wider can be helpful. And then let's try circling the knees around. So we'll circle them independent of one another, so you can move them away together, separate the knees, bring them up towards the sides of your body and in, and back out again. So again, always moving slowly, noticing, tuning in. What are you aware of here? What are the subtle sensations? Weight shifting on the ground, maybe hips going through their range of motion. Try going the other direction. So you bring the knees towards you, out to the sides, down away from you and back together. See how that changes things if it does. Great. And then just taking the knees in, whatever position is comfortable. Rock a little bit side to side, just massaging across the back. The knees can be further away or closer in, whatever feels good. And then let's bring the feet right to the ground. Again, you can find that open position with the arms where it feels like a nice easeful stretch, not too much, not too little. Knees and ankles together now, knees pointing at the ceiling. And we're going to open the knees away from each other. So any amount, the soles of the feet can come towards each other, and then we'll bring the knees back together. So we'll do this dynamically a few times. Opening with the breath in. If you're coordinating breath, it's never required, always optional. But if you are coordinating, inhale as you open, and exhale as you bring the knees together. So we're going to have the opportunity to stay with the knees apart. If you're comfortable to have the arms open and the legs open, and that feels like a really good open position for you, great. If it feels a little vulnerable, you might instead bring your arms to rest on your body and let the knees come apart any amount. So whatever position for arms is comfortable for you. If you feel better opening and closing the knees rather than staying, if your hips feel tight, that's fine. And if you feel good to stay, you can open the knees, soles of the feet together, stay here, arms either on your body or out to the sides. And if you feel like you need support, if you feel like you're holding tension in your inner thighs, You might take some blocks or blankets or pillows underneath your thighs. And if you're comfortable without them, then that's great. We'll stay here just for a few more breaths. So again, stay tuned into either your breath or what you feel in your body. So bringing the attention to the present moment. And then we're going to slowly bring the knees together. And you could take literally 10, 12 breaths to do this. So very, very slowly. And as you bring the knees together, you might notice some shaking as those muscles work. You can just go ahead and let them shake as long as you're comfortable with that. If not, just bring the knees together anytime. You can even pause where you feel that shaking and just let it happen. Slowly, knees coming together. Again, that shaking is normal. If it feels uncomfortable to you, you can just bring the knees a little more quickly together or use your hands to support. You might not feel any shaking as well, so it's not a requirement. And eventually, very slowly, a few more breaths. If you're still moving, soles of the feet will come to the floor, knees will come together. And then again, if it's comfortable for you, let your knees come together and make a little triangle so your feet are wider than your hips. So that way your knees fall together and support one another. Just make sure that's comfortable in your hip joints, that there's no pinching or discomfort there. If there's discomfort, you can always just stretch your legs out or bring your knees apart. So again, hands wherever they're comfortable. They can rest on your body or on the floor. And we'll take a moment here again to integrate, to check in, and to simply notice. So again, tuning into and noticing your body, what draws your attention, what are you aware of? So again, if there's areas of discomfort or pain that you notice those, but don't dwell. So let your attention go somewhere else, go back and forth. What feels good or neutral, what feels maybe less comfortable. And then take a moment to tune into your breath for a few breaths, simply feeling the movement of your breath coming and going. And then again, I invite you to tune into the movements of your mind. So noticing if your mind feels busy, quiet, if it feels any different from where you started today. And please know there's no right or wrong answer. Our awareness is the point here, not the answer to those questions, but what are we aware of in this moment? And then also an awareness of what mood or emotions may be present. And again, if there's something sticky or difficult there, try not to dwell. Just as when we focus on the body, you might notice that sticky part, that difficult emotion, and then shift to something that feels neutral. Could even be something physical, and then maybe back to the emotion. So we don't get pulled into some spiral of negative thinking. Just being in our process in each moment. So a few more breaths here. You can just let all that go, all of that focus, and just be with whatever is present for you right now. A few more breaths. And then you might stretch out your legs, reach your arms either out to the sides or overhead. Take a nice long stretch through your body, like you're waking up from a luxurious nap. Bring the arms down at any point when you're ready. You might bend the knees and roll to your side if you're ready to come back upright. And as you come upright, you might just, and if you want to stay lying down, that's always okay as well. You might take a little more time to integrate. When you come upright again, you might bring the hands together and just take a moment to thank yourself for showing up today, for doing the practice, for being as present as you're able. And maybe take the intention out into your day that when you notice that you're being co-opted by your thoughts, that you have a choice, that you can choose to bring your attention to something neutral or something positive, and that you can kind of move back and forth and find the middle path for yourself. Namaste.